Good afternoon, folks. Let's have a seat. We have all the public health folks that are going to be on the panel to please come forward. And Director, if possible, whoever's not sitting on the panel but might speak, when we ask you the panel to rise to be sworn in, make sure you include your other staff, just in case. You may not speak, but just in case. Okay, at this time, I'd like to greet you all. Good afternoon and Hafa The Committee on General Government Operations and Appropriations is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, June 18. The time now is 2 o'clock. If not, it's 2:01 or 2:02. In compliance with the open government law, the notice for this public hearing were posted on GovGuam public notice portal on GTA TV channel 21 and Docomo channel 117, and live stream on the Guam Legislature YouTube, and disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Tuesday, June 11th, and on Friday, June 14th. Today, the agenda is on Bill 236-37 COR, Committee on Rules, by the request of I Magaʹhågan Guåhan, the Governor of Guam, in accordance with the Organic Act of Guam, an act making appropriation for the operation of the executive branch of the Government of Guam for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025, making other appropriations and establishing miscellaneous and administrative provisions relative to the Department of Public Health and Social Service. At this time, I ask the members of the Department of Public Health and Social Services panel to rise and be placed under oath by the Sergeant Arm. All right, I like it when everybody stands, just in case.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you all affirm that any and all information you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, Mr. Chair, the Honor, you may proceed.
Thank you. The general rules for this budget hearing. Please provide my legislative staff with any documents for photocopying and distribution. Panel members are asked to remain in the room for questions or for additional testimony as may be desired by members of the committee. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance of the agenda, which is specifically the budget of the Department of Public Health. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the budget hearing. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum will be restricted from participating and will be removed from the budget hearing room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. Please state your name and your title for the record. When we begin, everyone that's going to speak, please identify yourself and your position, and then you only do it once, and then throughout the hearing, you don't have to keep repeating that, you're Peter John Komatsu. No, we already know you are, and we just move on, okay? With that, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues that are present this afternoon with us. We have the Speaker, the Oversight Chair of the Department of Public Health, Speaker Therese Terlai. We have Vice Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes. We have Senator Roy Canata, and we have Senator Chris Barnett. All right. At this point, I would like to ask the Director, and thank you for accepting the position as Director, and I know you needed more time, but time is really tight for us right now. But I know you can handle it. You're just that kind of woman, okay? I have a lot of faith with you, Therese. So if you can go ahead and introduce your budget, and we'll move forward from there.
Thank you, Chairman San Agustin, Speaker Therese Terlahi, Vice Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes, Senators Roy Canata, Senator Chris Malafunction Barnett. Thank you for having me. My name is Teresa Arreola, the Acting Director of Public Health and Social Services, the proud director. I believe slides were given. Just a little bit of overview. With me today, to my right is Deputy Peter John Camacho. To my left, Deputy Terry Uggan. With me, I've been asked my division chiefs to join me. I have with me Kim Bloss, the Acting Chief of General Admin, and also all financial matters fall under him. Division of Environmental, we have Ms. Francine Salas. With me for the Division of Public Health, Catherine Angoko. Of course, we have for Division of Senior Citizens, Charlene Sanickolas with us. Division of Public Welfare, we have Acting Chief Human Services Administrator, Rochelle Paulino. And last but not least, the Chief of Children's Services Administrator, Heidi Lujan, Division of Children's Wellness. And they're all holding me up. Just a real quick, okay, the slides aren't changing. Next slide, please. Okay. So this slide, of course, you all know, is the name, identifies enabling statute, our missions to assist people in Guam in achieving and maintaining their highest levels of independence and self-sufficiency in health and social welfare. Our vision at the department is empowering people of healthy mind and body living in a safe environment throughout their lifetime. Next slide, please. You have before you our organizational chart, and as I mentioned, the 6 divisions, they're well defined as stated in this slide. Next slide, please. FY25 budget, the breakdown is as follows: $70,371,226 from general fund, special revenue funds $2,786,687, for a grand total of $73,157,913. Federal match of $163,995,995 for a total budget request of $237 million, my apologies, $153,908. It's a big difference.
I was going to correct you on that.
Next slide, please. This is a breakdown of personnel. We have 8% at $18 million, and operations 92% at $218 million and change, for a total of $237,153,908. And then the next slide. Thank you, Chairman San Agustin. We had a very good meeting with your staff last week, and just in preparation for this meeting, we have put up some of the questions that perhaps might help the senators as we go along in today's hearing. The first question was asked is, aside from the government appropriations, are there any other sources of revenue that contribute to the agency or department's budget? And the answer is yes. Aside from the government appropriations of general fund and special funds, primarily the other non-appropriated source of revenue is derived from the community health center's revenue. 2, how efficiently has the agency or department managed its budget in previous years? The department has always been able to pay its obligation and serve the people of Guam. Do you anticipate any lapses from this current fiscal year? Yes, we do. We are currently working on updating the projections, and we'll get back to you folks with those details. Third question, are there any areas where cost savings has been achieved or where expenditure have exceeded projections? Yes, and again, we will get back to you. We're currently working on updating the projections. I should have mentioned earlier, this is day 7 of my time with the department, but I really appreciate actually the budget hearing happening. Initially, I asked for, I know I asked for more time, but it gave me the opportunity to what I call or coin like cram for exam. But, you know, I say that, but at the same time, I'm not very unfamiliar with the happenings of the department. The fourth question is, are there any prior year outstanding personnel obligations? If yes, what are the amounts? Yes, there are 2 detail appointments that are currently being reviewed and reconciled for processing. The fifth question, what is the status of paying off your merit bonuses? First of all, past unpaid merit bonuses date back for the department to 2010. The status, 7%, 43 of 609, which include active and inactive, are pending notice of personnel action from DOA for processing. 93%, 566, have been paid. The department has always been able to absorb the financial obligation, and current merit bonuses are being paid in a timely manner as they come forth. Number 6, do you feel the agency's budget request represents the true needs of the agency to meet its core mission and objectives? Absolutely. Management is requesting, and this is a request and a consideration for the senators, is requesting that any lockbox budget be reconsidered, as it limits management's ability to move funding within our department to areas in need. And if not completely, may I ask that at least a sunset clause for lockbox be considered? It's a consideration. I understand that that's your purview, but it's also, I'm asking that if not an entire lockbox for 12 months, that at least a sunset clause for 6 months is established so that 6 months into the fiscal year, I am able to move monies around if we see the need to. If lockboxed, I'm not going to be able to use that money, even though it's sitting there and may not have been expended, which we do have some issues, of course, for spending this fiscal year for, I think, obvious reasons that is known to all of you, to most of you, all of you, of course, and that is, unfortunately, we are in a stalemate with regards to our procurement review and contracts with the Attorney General. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, Speaker, Senators, I will answer any questions that I can, and that's all I have today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Director Ariola. On the lockbox, you're referring to the lump sum that we normally give. We give you a lump sum, then you guys decide where you want to put it. When you say lockbox, what are you referring to?
I was informed that last year, through separate legislation and not at the request of the department, $2 million was put into the Children and Wellness Fund and was lockbox specifically for Children and Wellness Division. That's what I'm talking about.
So you want it? Well, no, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because, okay, hold on, folks. I'm referring to when we pass a budget, it's
I'm
lump
sorry.
sum.
Yes, I'm
So-
sorry.
so you would have
it
the
has
flexibility.
nothing to do with, maybe I shouldn't say. It wasn't a lockbox in the budget, the budget appropriation. It was a separate bill.
Or it was a separate legislation, okay.
Yes.
But see, whenever we pass the budget, we give it a lump sum. So you guys figure it out.
Yes,
You
and we do
determine.
appreciate that.
Your
and that's how
flexibility
we've been
will be
managing
on
it.
you.
We do appreciate
Okay.
that. My apologies.
Okay, no problem.
I thought it was done during the budget.
No. As a matter of fact, after speaking with the OFB over your budget, I don't currently have any reservation at this time other than, there's a decrease in certain areas, there's an increase in certain areas, and I would just digest it and then we move from there and then we'll figure this out. I would have the oversight chair determine if there's any reservation. Because currently right now, when I look at your budget, sure there's an increase in some areas such as special funds, you need federal matching. That's an obligation on us. We need to match. If you're going to get more federal money and you need matching, then we just fulfill that. Because why? When you ask for $1, but you're going to get $20, we give you the dollar. I mean, that's just how it works. It's the smartest way to do business when you're dealing with federal money. It's different now if you said 50-50, then we're like, do you really need that grant? Can you find a better grant? You know, that's how we would look at it. But other than that, there is an issue. I see some reduction. I see you have a reduction in the Division of Public Health and a reduction in the children's wellness. I'm just curious why you got a reduction there, but you got an increase in the Division of Senior Citizens. I'm in that category, so I don't feel bad, you know, in senior citizens, okay? Anybody over 65, you enjoy that. But I'm just curious if you can just explain why there's a reduction in those areas.
Yes, I'll try my best. I'm sure the reduction in children's wellness of 2.7 million might be of a blaring concern to many of you. But we thought when we prepared the budget of 13 million, the original budget was 13 million, very close to that. It was that additional 2 million that was put in to the department that boosted up to 15 million. Why the reduction? We've been, if you look at the expenditure trends, and I am, you know, looking at how we're spending and are we spending in a timely manner. Unfortunately, most recently, because of things being stuck in with the AG and contracts, and really contracts is our biggest thing. We're not moving money, even though I want to spend money, even though the department wants to spend money. There's a lot of contracts on hold right now, and I didn't see the news, but I was told that what I thought was moving forward with the Attorney General, I think he did an appeal. I'm not sure whether it was yesterday or the day before, so we're still waiting for the Supreme Court to address that, to see if there's any movement in our help that we need with the Attorney General's office. And so
Okay,
the 2.7 million reduction, I know it looks like it's a reduction, but really we're at status quo if you don't add the additional 2 million that was in a separate appropriation.
Okay. How much money is tied up at the AG's office? I'm just curious. You know, how many? What is the total amount, the value that the AG is holding up? Because, you know, you can go down and there's 10, there's 12, but what's the total value?
Yes, we're trying to get that going. I can get back to you on that total amount.
All right. And then just moving down simply on the
And if
budget.
they can get it to me, they will.
Okay. Just going down further, you got Division of General Administration, the HFF, and the HPLO. You got 769 and then a 571. If you could just...
Well, yes.
I was
general
just curious
fund-
about why the
The
decrease.
special fund reduction, obviously, Senator, as you know, that the Healthy Future Funds has really not been performing very well.
That's correct.
And so, thus the reduction. And so we had to make it up in the general fund end.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. And how about the next one? That's 571. Is that the same thing? The Division of Public Health, Office of Vital Statistics Revolving Fund? You dropped by 571 from the
Yes,
previous.
that's
so-
special funds as well, with Healthy Future Funds. We just need to not consider that fund anymore.
In other words, we need to find new money in the general fund because Healthy Future Fund is not coming through. Oh, okay.
A little plug in too, because that's going to be the issue with Guam
I
Behavioral
don't know. I
Health.
need to find out. I need to find out with OSB later on the Healthy Future Fund, and if it's not coming in, we'll figure this out. Okay. I move that. I think our add-on was Senator Brown showed up. Thank you. So, Speaker, I'd ask if you have any questions for the now director, or even with the acting director still here, previous. Madam Speaker, if you have any questions?
I do, Mr. Chair, and please be
Thank you.
patient with me because I wasn't able to attend the meeting that you had with Public Health. We got notice after it had begun. So these changes, well, let's just start with this Healthy Future Funds. You're saying we should not consider that, but when I read the CRER special fund report, it shows we are receiving Healthy Futures Fund. I think we're,
I think the tracking is just tracking downward, and it's not been healthy at all. Unfortunately, I mean, no pun intended. It's just, the fund has just been.
but are you saying that public health has not received their appropriation from the Healthy Futures Fund?
Whatever we've received in the past, we have, but it's trending down for FY25, so we need to adjust accordingly.
Overall, the Healthy
Yes, I
Futures
mean,
Fund is
it's-
trending down,
Oh, absolutely.
but
Absolutely. It's trending down. I mean,
but you've
unless-
received all your appropriations from Healthy Futures, meaning you have, there's nothing we've appropriated from Healthy Futures that's not, we haven't received.
Well, we're receiving our timely allotments, yes.
All right, but so you want to decrease funding because of projection in Healthy Futures Fund?
Well, you can't project from a fund that's not,
So you want to decrease the funding for what? The
no, well,
HPLO,
well, the reduction is based on the fund not performing.
well,
so-
that's our problem, right? The problem for you is what are
we put it up
you
to the-
requesting? Yeah.
So we put it up to the general fund.
You moved it up.
Yeah, we moved it
Basically,
up.
you moved it up
We-
from.
we
What did you
didn't-
move up?
We didn't ask
What
it
was
from
that?
the Healthy Future Fund because we know the fund
Which
is
one?
not tracking. Healthy Future.
No, what did you move up to the general fund?
That'll be 1.1 million.
It says Division of General Administration.
please move up so
and
you can ask-
HPLO.
answer.
Is
Now,
that
if I
what you
can
mean?
ask Kim Blas to join me, and maybe he can better explain.
Half a day, senators. So
Just state your names the first time and then
I'm
you're
Joaquin
okay.
Blas from the Division of General Administration. So this is based on the budget ceiling given to us by BBMAR, and we had to live within the budget ceiling for the Healthy Futures Fund. And so whatever shortfall we anticipate from the decline in what we got previously, it was increased by the general fund.
Did you receive a shortfall?
I'm sorry?
Are you not receiving your money that was
Yes, we are,
appropriate?
but we're-
Okay, so what do you mean by shortfall?
So we did not, for this fiscal year, for 25, I'm sorry, our budget ceiling was a certain amount.
All right,
General fund
that's a
and health-
ceiling, that's
Yes.
not a shortfall.
Yeah.
They've told you not to request from the Healthy Futures Fund.
It
They
was the
told
ce-
you to request it from the general fund, that's what you're saying?
We were given a ceiling of Healthy Future Funds and
All
General
right,
Fund.
so you decreased from the Healthy Futures Fund, well, it says Division of General Administration, HFF, Healthy Futures Fund, and HPLO, 769,000 decrease down here in special funds, and then you also decreased Division of Public Health, and then it says HFF, Office of Vital Statistics Revolving Fund by 571. 760,000 plus 571,000, where did, you funded that in the general fund?
Yes, ma'am.
Under which category, which division?
Under pretty much all the divisions. Mostly the decrease under the special funds for general administration were funded under general fund under,
Okay, but that's a decrease of 769,000, and you're saying so that 856,000 increase, that's because it's being funded general fund
yes,
now?
yes, ma'am.
And then the 571 decrease from public health? Up here, public health is also decreased in the general fund by 22 million.
Yes, that's correct.
So how does that balance?
Well, the decrease in general fund from the, because of the current expenditure levels for the Division of Public Health. So there was no need to increase their divisional level.
All right, and then they decreased the Division of Children's Wellness. So your overall budget is the same as what the governors requested, so meaning you kept within their ceiling that they gave you.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, but it's still a $42 million increase from last year. And those increases, 3 million of it is for the Division of Senior Citizens. I looked at that, and the bulk of that comes for contracts. And
Yeah. Contracts for the meals, meal costs has increased. Contract services have increased. And so that's where, for senior citizens, it's mostly contractual work. And so, especially for the meals.
So the meals increased by 3 million? Yes?
You want to come up?
Make sure you state your name, okay?
I'm Charlene Seneclas. I'm Senior Citizens Administrator, Division of Senior Citizens. The amount that's being talked about or being discussed is the federal match for the increase under federal match. Division of Senior Citizens is showing 3234031. If we look at the variance from what is reported for FY24 versus the amount that's showing on the FY25 request, please keep in mind that when this budget was submitted, Division of Senior Citizens on the federal match receives its grant awards through notice of awards based on congressional resolution. So the amount reported at 529 is basically the first NOA we got, which was on about October 2023. So that's the amount you're looking at. We're looking at the difference. Yes, we anticipate the increase that's going to happen. As you mentioned, Senator, earlier, we're going to try and match offset local from a federal fund. So again, I just want to just point out that 529 was based on the initial NOA, Notice of Award, received. Okay?
All right, so you're saying there's an increase in what we are going to spend for federal matching by $3.2 million? All of that's going to go towards federal matching?
Correct.
And is that for food?
It's actually a combination. So we have a state plan, right? So in our state plan, we cover our state office, a certain percentage. We have 6 supportive services that Acting Director had mentioned that are contracted out. They include our 3 adult daycare centers, our case management, our in-home services, legal assistance services, transportation, senior center, nutrition, that includes meals for the 15 congregate sites, home delivered, and the caregiver program. So that's what that's going to cover based on the anticipated amount that's requested.
All right, is that, but those are different programs,
Correct.
right? So are they all increasing proportionately, or can we get a breakdown of that?
Right now, I can share that what we understand for increases is at the end of the year, we're going to get ready for negotiation for FY25. The Local Budget Act requires that we follow the Service Contract Act, and for anyone who's got contracts, we all know you need to pull that service contract out listing through the U.S. Department of Labor, and we won't know until that information is provided, but we do anticipate an increase.
Okay, so you don't know yet where these increases might be, you're just anticipating?
We do, because historically there's been increases on the Service Contract Act.
All right. Which ones?
All the programs.
Okay.
Because we have to follow. So as we negotiate, that's one of the things we have to look at.
So when will you know, October?
No, before October. So we're going to negotiate in July. We're going to probably do research, see what's listed there, and based, of course, on what we project, what we anticipate to receive, we'll set the mark for us in terms of what amount we're going to be negotiating for, right, for the programs I mentioned.
Yeah, when is that?
When?
July, you said?
Approximately July,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. And then, all right, and then I had some specific questions. So that was the contracts for the Division of Senior Citizens, the contract amount for the Division of Children's Wellness also, and the overall appropriation for the Division of Children's Wellness is decreased by $2 million. The contract amount seems to be decreased by $782,000. Can I ask why that is? We don't have the listing of contracts. They're saying they didn't need the $2 million that was given to them. I'm not sure in what appropriation, but they're saying they didn't need the $2 million. They can't use the $2 million. And so we're going to decrease the budget or whatever, the requests by $2 million. And then the contract amount has also gone down by $782,000. $82,000 for Division of Children's Wellness.
If I can have Heidi Kanata
Yes,
come up.
please. They haven't said.
Please feel free, Director. Anyone you need, just call them up. They've all been sworn in, so we let them identify who they are and we let them speak.
Hafide, good afternoon. Heidi Kanata Lujan, Chief Children's Services Administrator for Division of Children's Wellness.
Hi, Ms. Lujan. Can you just tell us the $2 million that they're decreasing children's wellness budget by? You don't need that money?
Well, the $13 million was a healthy enough budget for us that was appropriated this current fiscal year. And our expenditures is tracking fairly well. We do have our challenges. We always want the additional funding. However, in a lot of our reassessing and the expenditures that we're tracking, $13 million is sufficient at this time.
Why are they asking for less this year in contracts than last year?
We are working to combine some of the services that we are able to combine, and then we are able to offset some of the expenditures with federal dollars.
For what programs are you talking?
Using the Child Care and Development Fund program, CCDF.
Child care.
Yes, which is also in the Division of Children's Wellness.
Yes, okay, but this is decreasing contract by $782,000.
Yes.
That's in child care?
Yes, it's a combination of federal funds from the Child Care Development Fund.
Okay. So this decrease by $2 million in the Division of Children's Wellness is not going to impact your ability to provide the services that your division is tasked with providing?
No, it shall not impact the services that we are tasked to provide. However, that is given the fact that our contracts are successfully awarded. So of course, for example, the Igumamanaasi group home, we had all intention of contracting those services, and we are anticipated to have enough funding to cover that. However, because that has not been successful, we've been having to hire additional staff, increasing our cost for personnel, and so as such.
So what is the status of the contract?
To my understanding, is still with the Attorney General's office as of February of this year.
Are you sure it's a contract that's with him?
I'm sorry, it's the RFP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those,
So the RFP requires review from and guidance from the Attorney General's office. So it's one of those things that we're kind of stuck at.
this
bay.
was way before this issue with the Attorney General was raised, that the contract had not been procured for years. It's been years, actually. And so this was actually not even an Attorney General issue. It was a public health to GSA and back and forth several times issue. So that was the delay.
Well, Speaker.
Has this contract been sent from, it's an RFP
not- it's
or a
an
contract?
RFP.
It's just an RFP. Has
But
it,
the RFP process, as you know, the procurement requires review.
yeah.
Yeah.
My question is, has that RFP been received from GSA, or did Public Health prepare the RFP?
Yes.
When?
The RFP was prepared and routed to the AG's office in February of 2024.
All right. But this contract has been pending since the building was built, right?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
several years now. And
Yes, that's
so you're saying
correct.
you're spending overtime to fund the CPS workers that are currently manning that building in lieu of a contract, right?
Correct.
And so the CPS appropriation, well, there's a special line item by the governor in her language of 1 million more than the current, the FY24, and what is that 1 million going to cover? Is that just going to cover the increase in salaries, or is that going to cover the coverage for the shelter in overtime and an increased personnel? Does this allow CPS to hire the personnel that it's been saying it needs?
Yes,
The 1 million?
correct.
And so none of that goes towards just increase in salaries?
It's a combination of increase in salaries, recruitment of additional staff, salary increments.
All right, so how much more additional staff is it going to hire?
Well, during our last...
Because the last I was told in our oversight hearing was that there were several LTAs being hired to man the shelter and CPS workers were also social workers were also working at the shelter. All of that. So how are these to hire more LTAs or to hire more social workers, or how many more?
Yes, we are continuously actively recruiting social workers and community program aides. It's our community program aides specifically for the Magaʹhågan shelter that are unclassified or limited term, because the intent, as mentioned, is to contract those services.
So how many more do you intend to hire?
For the Magaʹhågan shelter,
well,
we're looking
with the 1 million.
We're looking
Because
at
some of this has to go towards the 22% increases, right?
Absolutely. This factored into this 1 million is also the additional incentives for Child Protective Service employees, which is a 25% their hazardous pay.
Okay. So after all of that, how much is left for new hires?
For new classified recruitment, we're looking at 8 additional classified recruitment.
All right. Is that the same 8 that's been trying to be hired in FY24?
Yes.
Same. So nothing above FY24. So it's pretty much status quo for CPS FY24 to FY25. The increase in money is just to cover the normal salaries and benefits that you have been already providing.
We are anticipating and we're hopeful to recruit 20 warm bodies.
20 what?
In FY25, 20 additional employees.
So 8
The 8 is ongoing.
8 social workers, and the rest are all what?
Additional social workers, community program aides, and admin staff.
Okay, you're going to do that with the remainder from the 1 million?
And
20 employees?
in offset with our federal dollars. In offset with our federal dollars.
Okay, can you send that detail to us,
Yes,
please?
absolutely.
Yes, thank you. All right, and then the Division of Environmental Health at our last oversight hearing told us they are responsible for inspecting 12,000 institutions a year based on the current mandates. They had 11 personnel. Their budget shows an increase of $381,000 from the general fund. We transformed them to a revolving fund for their fees, and that's only going to give them an increase of $222,000. So my question is this enough to do the inspections that they're mandated to do, especially those that are required for the public schools?
Yes, ma'am. And that is because the inspections that are required, especially for the public schools, is ongoing. I can give you a report. We've inspected the number of schools that is 39. Those that have been inspected is 18. Remaining schools is 21, and 6 of those schools are up for renewal. The reason why I say yes is because the inspection, the obligation for the Division of Environmental Health is only triggered by the Department of Education's readiness to be inspected. If we inspect right now, they're not going to pass. So we work together weekly with them, and they trigger us to tell us what schools are ready for inspection, and then we go and inspect.
Okay, so you're saying that the 11 personnel that they have is sufficient to inspect GDOE plus the 12,000 institutions on Guam that they are mandated to inspect, because the last time we had this discussion, this was a serious, dire crisis that the Division of Environmental Health needed more employees, same as CPS, and now all of a sudden, all the crisis is gone. Everybody's able to handle
I
these
can ask
12,000 inspections?
Francine Solis to
Please, yes.
expand.
Good afternoon, Speaker and Senators. My name is Francine Solis. I'm a Management Analyst 4 with the Division of Environmental Health for Department of Public Health and Social Services, for the record. In answer to your question, Speaker, it is actually 3,000 plus establishments that we actually we permit and we regulate. Of that 3,000, with the law change that recently happened, number one, Public Law 3783, I believe it is, it changed a few things. It changed from the mandate of inspecting these 3,000 plus establishments 4 times a year to now just risk-based. So what that does is it reduces the frequency of inspections in general so that you get a better quality of inspection. Now, Ms. Elani had actually testified for that bill that we still are going to inspect based on the risk base, that we're still going to inspect a lot of these establishments once a year at least, but 4 times a year is a bit much. There are items that are child care facilities, elder centers, anything of that sort which service a highly susceptible population that we're there quarterly anyways. So there is a reduction in total time in terms of frequency mandated by law. So that is actually reduced the need. However, the 11 inspectors we are continuously hiring. This year's budget request does reflect funded vacant positions that we're hoping to fill soon. I know we had some certification packets come down, so we're looking at 4 additional inspector positions. So it is moving slowly, and so the minimal increase in total DEH request primarily is just to fund, obviously, pay raises, salary increments, that sort of thing, that is the normal course, as well as to fund, well, primarily rent for us, which is something we never considered before, but has been in our budget as well.
You're now funding rent?
Well, we were at the Mangilao Central building.
Yes.
We had never paid rent in our
Yeah.
lives.
And aren't you at Hessler now?
Yes, we are, and so.
So what are you paying for rent? Why are you budgeting for rent?
It's a rent. It's we do not own the
we're
building
tenants.
at Hessler.
Pardon?
We're tenants.
We're tenants of the building.
At Hessler?
Yes.
You're paying rent at Hessler?
Yes.
Oh, I was not even aware you were paying rent at Hessler.
Yes.
$49,000 a month. That's inclusive of utilities, Speaker. Yes, 49 a
Sorry.
month. $49,000 a month. That's in, rent and utilities.
I thought the government purchased the whole lease for 50 years or something like that. They made a big announcement. So, all right, 49,000. How much comes out of Department of Environmental Health?
Well,
It's usually cost allocated, but for 25, DAH is asking for rent because we are putting out an RFP for rent for the move out of Hessler.
So what is your projection? How much is DEH paying now, and how much is it allocating? So you're going to use your fees to pay rent?
actually,
That's what it says. It's
in prior years, we have actually used our fees or lapse funding to perhaps pay any sort of portion that is allocated to DEH. We occupy roughly 6,500 square feet of that building. And with the current market rates for what's out there, we're looking at $200K is what we would need. But we pay roughly, our portion would probably be roughly around that.
Probably, yes.
For the year.
right now you're paying $200,000 for your share of the Hessler building? For a $49,000 lease?
It's a $600,000, almost $600,000 payment per year. And then we cost allocate that through the divisions that are down at Hessler.
Yeah, and what's DEH's allocation?
They actually occupy more than half of the building.
What's the amount?
I'm not sure. We'll get back to you on that one. I don't have that.
How does it compare to what you're budgeting?
The budget, because DH has been doing market research on what's available out
No,
there.
you're budgeting 200,000.
Right,
But
but it-
how much were you budgeting last year?
We
For
didn't,
FY24, what were you paying?
we actually didn't budget FY24 for rent. We've been using lapse funding to help offset any sort of incidences like that.
Okay, so do you know the amount?
Well, I can get back to you on that, but on average, if you think half the building, that's pretty much us. It'll be less than the 200,000 that's being quoted because we cost share phone, we cost share things with the rest of the department
All right.
present there.
All right, who is the landlord? Who do you pay the checks to?
DOA.
DOA?
Yes, ma'am.
DOA.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I thought. The government of Guam owns the building. Okay. So you're saying, Francine, that the $380,000 increase in your budget is going to be able to fund additional vacant positions and $200,000 in rent.
Well, the $318,000 is an increase in general fund appropriations. So it represents a portion of the staff that was actually budgeted for that's being funded through the general fund. So those increments, salary increments and such. It's also going to cover $200,000 in rent and a slight increase of roughly $46,000 in change in contractual obligation that we have for our proprietary software system that we utilize.
Okay, so how many vacant positions that were not funded last year are being funded for this FY25?
Well, because our positions, we
Or
have
is
a very
it just the same?
well, no. I mean, we have a different perspective. So there are two different things. Like we said before in previous hearings, the positions that we have are very. It's not that we don't have qualified people on this island to do these jobs. There's just a lack of qualified interest. So the goal is to move towards increasing the interest through a few programs we're working on.
Okay,
So-
but yeah, my only question is, what we funded last year, I'm sure that included some vacant positions versus you said you're going to fund additional vacant positions. That's how we're going to take care of all the establishments that need to be inspected and the schools. So how many vacant positions are going to be funded in FY25 that were not funded in FY24? How many additional?
Well, standard we're recruiting right now, we have 22 positions that we're recruiting with DOA. They're all there. They are from prior year that were funded, and there's a continuation of currently they were funded, which is why we often have lapse funds because we can't recruit fast enough.
So it's a continuation?
Correct.
Same positions?
Right.
All right.
We actually opened, I believe, 2 or 3 more administrative positions to sort of support a few of the positions the administrative state office portion has been lacking for, I think, about 3 fiscal years since I came on board.
All right, so it's like status quo?
Yeah, well, we did.
So we reduced, yes, and we did, by that public law, reduce the number of mandatory inspections, but I don't think we reduced the number of establishments that needed to be inspected or that they needed to be inspected.
That's
That
correct.
we just allowed you the discretion to prioritize which ones were
Right.
most urgent, but okay.
Plus, there's other, Public Law 37-4 requires us to, every single year, to inspect every single school prior
Yes.
to the renewal of the permit. So
Which is why I'm surprised that the budget increase is only $381,000 for the Division of Environmental Health from the general fund versus like $3 million for some other divisions, and your mandates are you know, we still need these inspections to be done. And it was a crisis not too long ago, maybe within a year, it was a crisis. We were all here and we were begging DOA to help you hire these people, to prioritize the hiring of inspectors. And we've done, as you said, all kinds of efforts to recruit inspectors, but all right.
Well, also,
So the
Speaker,
request from the department is pretty much status quo.
well, our general fund
It's
request,
380 from the general fund,
Is
$220,000 from the revolving fund.
yes, 222, yes.
Yeah, all right, thank you. So the other one is the Office of the Vital Statistics. The spreadsheet, I'm not sure how to read this, but there's a line here under special funds where it includes the office, it says Division of Public Health, and then it says Office of Vital Statistics Revolving Fund. That's decreased. The explanation was, we're just decreasing that because it's coming from the Healthy Futures. We're going to fund it out of the general fund. Where is the division? Is the division of, is the vital statistics under public health? So public health is decreased budget. What is the status of the vital statistics budget? Because there used to be a line item for this as well in FY24 budget, but the governor's request has nothing. So what is public health doing with vital statistics?
Yes, it is. Vital statistics it is under Division of Public Health, but I believe OFB in this particular case, right, Llewellyn, correct me if I'm wrong, is you combined OVS with HFF under Public Health, right? And I think the amount of decreased is like $3,000 just for OVS. And
So vital statistics is decreasing by 30,000?
No, 3,000. I believe it's either an increase or a decrease by 3,000, and I forgot my other spreadsheet.
All right, so the 571, that's not going to be taken out of vital statistics?
No, ma'am.
All
No,
right.
it's an overall, I think what OFB did, they combined HFF, for the Division of Public Health, she combined Healthy Futures Funds with vital statistics.
Okay, I can't see that either, what vital statistics is going to get. The only reason I'm asking is because that was a line item in FY24, 500, or I don't remember the amount. But also, the epidemiologist, Dr. Pabutsky, before she left, that was one of her last requests to me, was to look at the vital statistics budget and make sure that they get some help. And, but you're saying it's pretty much status quo or $3,000 plus or minus, right? All right. And then the HPLO office is, again, one of those that's not line itemed in the governor's budget as it was in FY24. And it's treated the same way in this spreadsheet, where it's just a decrease of $769,000. It says for Division of General Admin and HPLO. My understanding is that HPLO requested more this year, but that...
And that increase was made up in the general fund side under Division of General Administration.
All right. So what do you think the increase for HPLO is?
I can get back to you on that. I don't have that information off of, it's on a different spreadsheet, and I actually brought the wrong spreadsheet. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the agency's detailed request, their spreadsheet for HPLO that you sent to OFB, you requested for only $197,583 for personnel for HPLO. Last year, the line item for them was $228,000 overall. And didn't HPLO request from public health at least $450,000 in personnel?
Yeah, we supplement HPLO's funds with the general fund under our division.
I know, so I'm talking about the general fund. Because they use their revolving fund for their other purposes,
Yes.
but they were asking for $450,000, but you only asked OFB for $197,000.
I'm not sure which spreadsheet she's... Speaker, which spreadsheet are you looking at so I can...
So you know the spreadsheet that you sent to OFB requesting for your agency request? So this was supposed to be used to hire, they wanted additional money to hire investigator, an inspector, and a community health nurse, to pay for remote examinations, the recruitment of classified staff. And they were moving all the board applications online. But I don't think they're going to be able to do that with a status quo budget. If that's even status quo, it looks like it might be less. That's my concern. It's hard to read it from these spreadsheets, and that's my concern. So, Mr. Chair, that's my concern is HPLO looks like it's either getting status quo or less. If we could get the details on that.
Yes, ma'am. We'll
I
provide
think
that
that
to you.
they requested more.
Yes.
But Public Health did not include that to us. And if we could just,
No, I believe we did give them more, but I'll get that information to you
okay,
after.
so then
Yes.
maybe I just need a breakdown that
Yes,
shows
we'll
that.
provide
Because
you
your
a-
request was only 197,000.
Okay.
That doesn't even sound like status quo. I'm worried about that, yeah. All right, and then the, so there are a lot additions to these Medicaid, and those make sense to me if they're going to give us more federal funds. So is that, can we just get an assurance that that's the purpose of that? We are going to get a proportionate increase in federal funds by the increase to Medicaid,
Yes.
local appropriation. And then what about the MIP increase? Is that necessary? What are we seeing? So the MIP increase is, it went from 3.9 million to 5.6 million. No, I'm sorry. Is that a decrease? Sorry. Governor's request is 3.9 million. FY24, we gave 5.6 million. There's a decrease to the MIP. Yeah, why is
And,
that? What are we seeing?
You know, I will confirm this, but my assumption is as we get more people on the Medicaid rolls, then the MIP will go down.
Okay, so
but
that
I
was the
will
goal.
definitely get the reason.
All right. Maybe if we could just get a report on the MIP as to like requests for
doing.
coverage, and if there are denials, what are those reasons? Okay.
I'll get that to you.
All right, and then, so that's MIP, Medicaid. Under the children's wellness, again, I'm sorry, there's a new item in the governor's request where she lines items out the Bureau of Social Services Administration, or BOSA, and puts in a $7.5 million appropriation. That was not line item before. And my understanding that BOSA was very much federally funded. So maybe you could just explain this.
Federal funds, Madam Speaker, BOSA is both local and a share of federal funds. It's the Bureau of Children's that is completely federally funded.
Bureau of Children.
There's two bureaus.
Okay, so, all right, so BOSA 7.5, this is newly delineated, I guess. Is this status quo for BOSA then, general funds, or is this additional, new for 25, FY25?
You know, I'm gonna have to get back to you. I'm not sure. I believe it's new.
Okay, why is that?
It might have been categorized under Child Protective Services in the past, and maybe now it's the Bureau of Social Services, something that's separate. But I will clarify that, Speaker, and get back to you.
All right, okay, yeah, so I'd like to know for the delineation in the governor's request of CPS and BOSA, what we're going to get for those, right?
Understood.
And if there are increases, or are those pretty much status quo? So CPS is looking a little bit like
Understood.
status quo. All right, and then this premium for the foster children's insurance went way up from 665,000 to 2.3 million. I just want to, well, that's in the governor's request. I'm assuming you're following that as well?
Yes,
Is this-
5%.
So you're just calculating 5% of what? or is this based on the self-insurance payment, like actual?
Are you talking about foster payments?
The foster
fees?
insurance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the health insurance.
The health insurance.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the health insurance, we are projecting, we're projecting a 10% increase.
Why is that?
That's,
Traditionally.
we're anticipating to receive more foster children and in turn needing.
Okay, so this is not based on the rates or the premiums that we've been pay, or the self-pay payments that we've actually been making. It's based on the number of children you're expecting to cover.
Yeah.
It's going to increase from
Traditionally,
665 to
there's been a
2.3.
slight increase, so we're just making those accommodations.
Okay, but that's 665 million to 2.3 million. I mean, sorry, 665,000 to 2.3 million. And you're saying that's based on the number of children you think will change from FY24 to FY25?
Yes, to include any increase in the percentages.
Okay, and how do you estimate that?
We did a 10% increase across the board.
10% increase of number of children or rates?
Rates.
Rates. And
Yes.
what is the increase in children that you're projecting?
Right now we have 600, we're projecting up to close to 800 children in FY25.
Okay. For health insurance,
Correct.
foster children, 600
Medical
to 800.
and dental.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And then we talked about the CPS, it went from, that's good. The foster care home is the same exact amount. Do you still think that's correct?
No, we left it as it is. We do have plans to offset it with other funding sources.
What are those?
We are planning for 1.7 million for the Igumamina Aussie group
Okay.
home.
What are the funding sources?
The Child Care Development Fund.
Okay.
And Title 20.
All right. And then this medical cannabis, it's the same, pretty much 352,000 last year, 369 for the upcoming fiscal years, the projection. Is this for personnel only, for the medical cannabis program? Is that personnel or some other service that they're providing?
Public health, if I can ask Catherine to come up. Just for the breakdown on that division, on that bureau, or that program.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Ancao. I'm the Chief Public Health Officer. Just give me a moment, Madam Speaker.
If you can just explain the reason for the increase, that's all. Or anticipated.
Not even the increase, just what is that amount for? Is it for personnel?
For the cannabis?
Yes.
Right? So the overall increase is about $17,000, okay? And no, it's for, there are some decreases in personnel because of they didn't fund the vacancies, and there was an increase in contractual services.
What are the contractual for? So what are we funding in this cannabis program? Medical cannabis, we fund all personnel, 360,000 plus,
215,000 is requested for personnel.
okay, 215,000.
Yeah, 152,000 is the anticipated contract that they have annually.
What's that?
I'm not, I can,
Is it the program, like a software?
yeah, I believe so. It's the program, but and we don't have the cannabis people.
I'll get back to you on that, specifically on what program the cannabis is currently working. So
software
currently, the medical cannabis program has only 2 personnel. One is our IT, which is half funded by medical cannabis, half funded by Bureau of Primary Care Services. We do have a special projects coordinator right now overseeing the program. We are in the process of hiring a classified program coordinator for the program.
Okay, thank you. You're going to hire what?
Because currently we have an unclassified personnel right now who oversees the program, special projects, but we have open recruitment for a classified program coordinator.
And that is necessary?
Yeah, permanent. Yeah, for permanent, yes. Program coordinator, Madam Speaker.
And you find it to be necessary to fill that permanently?
According to the program people, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so how much of, under the rental category, there is a very slight change, not much, but I guess we're gonna get the details on what we're paying for the Hessler building.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean the veterans are gonna have to pay for the Hessler building when they get that building?
I'm not
What?
certain, Speaker.
That just doesn't make any sense to me. All right. Do we know the status of the Mangilao building? It was supposed to be assessed, its condition. Do we know the status of that assessment?
Why don't you go ahead, because you were...
For discussion with Director Vince Ariola from DPW, because we're trying to find out the status of the assessment that was supposed to, was requested. He advised me that the request for the contract is stuck at the AG's office, or was stuck at the AG's office. So,
Stuck at the AG's office. That was when we had a hearing, remember?
Yes, ma'am.
January 8th.
yes, ma'am.
They said that was being issued on January 8th, that same day, the RFP. So that should have been issued. There should have been responses.
RFP.
So as far as you know, it's not even been issued yet,
It has not.
a request for assessment. All
Right.
right. Because I know there's a new round of discussion again in the media about that building, but when we had that oversight hearing, it was very clear. The public health nurses testified that their clinic was integral to not just delivering health care, but training for GCC and UOG nurses, that's where they train, is in the clinics. We also confirmed with GMH and Public Health that they are training GCC and UOG nurses. The nurses also testified that they believe health care for the people of Guam, especially pregnant women, was severely impacted by the closure, and they testified in favor of opening that Mangilao facility right away. They testified that despite operating in the northern and southern clinics, they are not able to maximize their interactions with patients, and that there was critical equipment such as x-rays that remained in storage, and many less efficiencies without the opening of that clinic in Mangilao. They detailed that the total encounters went from 8,331 in 2018 before the supposed fire down to 4,281 in 23, almost half. So for the women's clinic in particular went from 1,751 before the fire interactions to 947 in 2023. And they were very concerned about that. We also received testimony that the public health building was not burned. And this is from the insurance company. There was no evidence at all of fire. The insurance report denied public health's fire claim for insurance, and it was very clear in its findings, saying that the source of origin of the reported smoke could not be determined. There was no soot cover or any fire-related damages. There did not appear to be any apparent electrical malfunction or damage to the wiring. The fire sprinklers were not activated, and the power was shut off before any significant heat buildup developed, and the electrical panel boards were also reviewed, and it was observed that much of the electrical wiring appeared to be experiencing overheating. According to electrical engineer, it's highly recommended that the wiring circuits be checked for preventative measures, especially with this type of incident occurring. But their conclusion was that after an extensive investigation, inspection, and review of the claim by our principal, there was no damages noted. But despite these findings, Public Health has not, in 4 years since 2019, re-inspected, repaired, or moved back into that building, and at the very least, let the clinic move back in and operate. And DPW has as well not inspected, repaired, or detailed the repair necessary for Public Health to move back in. And that's been since 2019, I think that fire incident occurred. And none of this has been completed despite the assurances in January 8th that that RFP would be put out on that date, and I think it was never released. So I'm very concerned about that. And I don't know, you know, when we talk about what are the priorities for public health, customer service is one thing. I don't think changing the building for the Division of Environmental Health is going to increase their ability to do their inspections. I mean, that's the #1 customer service we need, some training, some certifications, but it's also not customer service when we're talking about patient care and the need for clinics that they believe that the people were very used to. But anyways, those are just my thoughts on how we should proceed going forward. I'm very concerned about this Division of Children's Wellness not needing or wanting $2 million. Very, very concerning when I really thought we were in a crisis there. And it's just not matching to me with what the employees say about the amount of overtime that they have to put in order to cover that, you know, these additional duties. And we're talking about social workers, and that's my biggest concern. They're the only ones that we can rely on to find homes for these children, and they can't do that while they're doing other work. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senator Cananta, do you have any questions for the panel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few. Thank you again, DPHS, for leadership for coming out today. Congratulations, Ms. Ariola, on your new post. I know you have a lot of experience, so this shouldn't be that much of a challenge for you. I wanted to ask if you have any employees that have been in a combative situation, that perhaps they've been unfortunately been harassed or been physically gotten into physical altercation in the event of inspections or whatnot. I mean, you've only been there for 7 days, but can anyone
Are you talking about
inspectors, I guess, or
inspectors
most especially
coming across combative folks
yes.
where they're inspecting? I am not made aware of, but maybe Francine can share what her feedback on combative folks, if there are any. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Half a day, Senator. The position of inspector does, in fact, there is that likelihood that you might run into a combative proprietor, school principal, restaurant owner, barracks. It's par for the course for the position, which is why we, you know, sometimes it's one of those things that a new employee may not be ready or aware, which is why it's part of our training process in terms of interacting with the public in general, as well as any sort of business owner.
Thank you. do you feel that it would be a worthy investment for you guys to get body cameras?
That might be an issue. I know right now, actually, some of the proprietors do actually film our inspectors when they go on site for an inspection, which is within their purview as it is their establishment. I don't know if it would necessarily be beneficial. The only thing we do is we take pictures of the site for the purpose of our inspection. And so it's really more technical than any other reason between interaction. I would never say no to cameras, but I'm not exactly sure if that would decrease the combative sort of nature a proprietor may have.
Okay, thank you. How many inspectors do you have on payroll?
So currently we have, I believe, 11. Nope. Yep, but we're losing one, so we'll be at 10.
On full. Okay. Are you guys able to inspect all permitted establishments with their inspectors you have?
At present, we do our best. We do not have the appropriate number, the ideal number we would have to inspect everything, which is why we are recruiting, which is why these are vacant, continuous funded positions. But at the same token, you know, we're not asking for any other additional funding, primarily because we're still trying to fill the vacancies we have. And so the status quo is sort of us just sort of monitoring how many applicants are we getting in, what's the pool like, how fast is DOA returning these certification packets to us. So it's just really an issue of us working with what we have and filling what we have first. And as I said, I'm losing an inspector next week who put in his notice. So it's like we plus one, we minus one. We plus two, we minus one again. So we're in that constant change. And so as a result of this individual leaving, we have an extra funded vacancy that we can actually fill without asking for additional money.
What do you think the impediments are for you guys getting people into those positions? Is it the delays at DOA, or is it the...
Yeah. So I think it's twofold. I think maybe the mechanics of DOA might be some of the issue, but there is a qualified pool on this island. It's just about drumming up interest and presenting that for people who never knew, who don't know what we do, who don't even know that public health has a regulatory arm or division that does what we do. So we've actually done a recruitment and retention plan, which we shared with Speaker Oversight in a previous meeting. But in addition to that, the governor has a collaborative moving forward, and we work with GCC and UOG in creating positions such as internships, rehoning certifications, creating additional positions, new positions being created, as well as modifying current positions to allow pathways for individuals to come straight from either GCC or UOG into environmental health, and even contemplating a potential career in environmental health. So we're working on that, but everything takes time. And so it's just, I'm hoping we see more hires. I'm hoping we see all that in FY25 so that we can start to realize the fruits of our work.
Okay, certainly I support that. I'm just curious, if we keep waiting, these people are eventually going to go and apply elsewhere or get picked up somewhere else if we don't hire them immediately, right? They're like, how long are you going to wait for process? The process shouldn't be that difficult. I don't understand. It seems like it's already been more than 6 months. It's like we put out an IFB, RFP, even for the employee. So that's just my point of comment. So do you guys have enough vehicles to go and inspect the...
At present, we have sufficient, but as our fleet ages, we will need to acquire more. Also, as we hire more inspectors, we will need to increase our volume. The one program that has been shortly funded is our mosquito program, and a vehicle is needed to spray pesticide, cannot be carried within an enclosed vehicle, so we do need a truck for that, and we are in the IFB process to procure one this year.
That's great to hear. Okay, that's all I have for EH. This is more, I guess, directed to citizens. Thank you, Ms. Salas, for your comments. CPS, are you guys still overseeing CPS? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we have enough vehicles for you guys to service your sites? And I also wanted to ask your vehicles, it's been brought to my attention that you guys are also dropping off kids to schools. And some of these kids are also in protective custody. And I also wonder if you put them in a particular case or situation by dropping them off in a government marked vehicle.
So, Hafa and good afternoon. I'm Terry Uggan, Deputy Director for the Department of Public Health. And yes, we do use government vehicles to transport children. We do have a number of children, of course, at different shelters, and they need to be transported on a weekly basis. Many of these children are very familiar with their setting in school, and so removing them from their home setting, it's important that they maintain relationships with the school and with their school friends. We do get criticized for using government vehicles for dropping off, I guess, what some community assume that are their private children. We have tried to not have every vehicle marked at Child Protective Services, so they're a little bit more private. But even then, we have our challenges. We are short of vehicles. Right now, we do have 10 vehicles for Child Protective Services. And, but of that, one of them has a broken window, I think, due to the typhoon, which is already a year ago. But even the replacement of that window has been in process for almost a year now, or a year. We do have 6 additional vehicles that are in procurement as well. My understanding that is at GSA. So hopefully with the window being fixed very shortly, that'll give us the 10 back, and then the additional 6 will give us a total of 16 vehicles, and that will really help move things along. But if you ask me the question today, I would say that yes, we are short vehicles.
Thank you. Another one is, what is the situation, or what is you guys' hiring status of caseworkers or case managers for CPS? Did you guys recruit any more? Because I know we had a hearing a couple months ago,
Sure.
and it was supposedly already out for those recruiting,
Okay.
but I don't know what the status is. Does anybody have an update on that?
I do have some updated information from the last, and I'm just going to give a time frame, that way we can track it, I guess you could say. From the fiscal year, October 1st, 2023 to the present, we have managed to hire a total of 14 staff, in which 8 of them are social workers. Many of the difference has to do with community program aides, and of course they assist at Igomamasi shelter. Of course, many of the social workers that are picked up went over to case management, in which case it takes the pressure off of some of the investigative side, as well as the crisis intake, as they can funnel their cases up to case management, which really is more of the long-term focus and care of these children. But if you ask me what we've managed to pick up in the last couple of months, there is a number. I don't know the number offhand. I just know the total number of, since October 1st, we are resting at 14. We do have 2 additional staff in the making. Both of them are community program aid 1s, which will be perfect for the children's shelter. And they are in the process of being hired, but it's still in process, and it's hard to put a time frame on that.
Okay, thank you. I have one question for senior citizens. Okay. It's been brought to my attention as well that there's been a wait list for some senior citizens to be acquiring those meal program services. Is there any reason, or what's the issue that you guys probably have in the back end that we may be able to assist you with?
Sure. Actually, thank you for bringing that up. We did get our grant award notice late May. I just want to say May 31st. So we have already submitted our EOAs, our MOTs. We can load those money and provide those meals. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you so much for that update. One last question, Mr. Chair. I know you're already tired of me asking questions. So vital statistics, can they digitize forms and minimize lines? It's been brought to my attention also that there's been wait lines similar to DMV, driver's license, right? Obviously, we hate lines, and having people stand in the sun is never a good optic for our government service, more or less customer service. So I would like to inquire whether or not we can just request for these things via email and just make it a pickup location operation so that we can stop having people line up outside in the sun.
Well, Senator, definitely digitizing and streamlining process is a priority of the department. We have a infrastructure grant that is specifically looking at all services that can be digitized, modernized, brought up to this century, and that is in the process. And so give me some time, because that's one of the things that I really want to do. We need to modernize what we can modernize and streamline what we can, do things online as much as we can. However, we do realize that our consumer base, some of them, if not most of them, the assumption that they have the ability to do things online is a bad assumption. So we're still going to need to do a little bit, but if we can decompress the lines and most people be encouraged to do online when the right software and the right best practice of what software is out there that can really streamline, that's going to help the number of people in the line. And so that's definitely a priority. We have a grant that's specifically looking at all the services throughout the department and seeing what we can digitize and modernize through technology.
Okay, thank you. One more question. I think the person who's in charge of the statistics is a Kanata. She's my aunt. I think she's supposed to be retiring too. So you guys should start recruiting that person too, because she's probably going to retire sometime this year, because I think she's been there since I was born. So she's been there for quite some time. So do you guys have any plans to hire people for that area or that section? Oh, that's you? Yes. Oh, congratulations.
Senator Kinata, I oversee the Office of Vital Statistics. Yes, we do have plan of recruiting additional staff as well, plus, okay, sorry. So we do have plans of recruiting additional staff. It's just that, of course, also admin staff to do the process of recruitment. And also we are in the process of having the territorial registrar be reevaluated because of the pay grade is very low. So with that, that's why we need also the support of the legislature. So we do, so to increase, plus currently we only have 2 classified employees for Office of Vital Statistics. And the other staff are from other bureaus who's lending their staff to Office of Vital Statistics. So with our new director on board, that's one of our goals is to increase the manpower for that section. And also part of it is to possibility of, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Before I ask Senator Barnett for any questions, I'd like to just ask Public Health Director, God bless you and good luck on your fixing the public, but check from the times that the offices are open.
Absolutely, it's one of the things that I've inquired in the last 3 days.
Okay, because I've seen some signs that says 8 to 5, no, but at 11 o'clock or 12, they're closed. It cannot be.
That's right.
Okay, it's 8 to 5. And I hope all the agencies are listening. When you open at 8, you close at 5, but there's no lunch break. Put somebody there because
That's
a
right.
lot of people of Guam are going there.
There should be staggered. Absolutely looking into that.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Senator Barnett, you have questions, sir?
Siduswasia, Mr. Chair. Yes, I do. I actually wanted to start with a question from a constituent. And I'd like to thank you, Acting Director, and your management team for being here. But the question is, how much money do we have to put in public health's budget to make sure they answer the phones?
Not much. We just need to ensure that the right people are answering the phone and that it's being answered. One of the things I think I've mentioned to others is really the image. And one of my things that I have to turn around is the image. We have hardworking employees at the department. I'm sure they're not answering the phones because of, I'm going to want to say because they're busy, but that's no excuse to not answer the phone. And that's something that I will address.
Yeah, because, I mean, this obviously isn't the first concern I've gotten. And then I get people who call the office, especially from the food stamp division, and they're asking me, is there a secret number that they can call? Because sometimes it just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. So I'm not sure what kind of phone system you have. Is it the kind that if you're on the phone, it's going to keep ringing?
I don't know, but I will find out. And it doesn't matter what phone system we have. Somebody in the end of the line has to answer that phone. That's something I'll look into, definitely.
Thank you. And then while I'm on the subject of food stamps and EBT, I did want to inquire the status if there will be any pandemic EBT issued this summer.
Yes. Yes, there is. We have funding. We have funding for that. The plan is to roll out very soon, but there is a plan, and yes, there is a summer EBT.
So when I asked GDOE, they said they're waiting. Is it going to be relative to the enrollment at the public schools again, like it has been?
Yes, it's through in collaboration with DOE.
Okay, so what is
as well as other, not just DOE, I should say.
Right.
Even with charter schools.
Right. And so is DOE doing everything it needs to do to make sure that we roll this out smoothly? Do you need to come up, ma'am?
If I can.
A lot of people asking me about this pandemic EBT.
Yeah, if I can ask Rochelle. She did brief me a little bit on that, and that's as much as I know, is that we're definitely rolling it out.
Thank you, ma'am.
But maybe she has a little bit more information about the summer EBT SNAP program.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Rochelle Paulino. I'm the Acting Chief of the Division of Public Welfare, just 2 weeks in. So what I know of as of today is we have a pandemic EBT that is still pending, and we have the summer EBT that is being worked on. The pandemic EBT is an issue with the contract and the AG's office. The summer EBT is a new grant that we just received. And our hopes is to complete this by September 2024. But again, that will be dependent upon contracting.
Did you just say that you hope the summer EBT will be completed when summer's over?
Yes.
And what's the reason for that, ma'am?
Well, we just received the grant awards now.
Okay.
And that was part of the plan, the time frame. So they give us, to my understanding, they give us a grant for a specific time frame, but not necessarily when it needs to be released or rolled out.
Can you just, for the viewing public, tell us the difference between the summer EBT and the pandemic EBT in terms of, who's eligible for which, et cetera?
I believe the eligibility is pretty the same or standard for Guam, and it's those schools or facilities who participate in the food nutrition program or the nationwide, but I'll get you the exact program that they do need to participate in, which GDOE does. Did you ask what the difference between,
summer EBT and the pandemic EBT?
They have renamed it, and again, this is to my knowledge, 2 weeks in. Summer EBT is a permanent program that will continue not in relation to the pandemic, in relation to feeding our children throughout the summer. So it's the similar, I should say, program, but it's a continuous program.
Right. So which of the programs is the one that is made available to public school children's families?
Both.
Both. Okay. Sounds like you need to go back to the office and get more info for us.
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
Please.
We actually provided a summary, and I will have it forwarded.
Okay, so just so you know, people have been asking about it, and that's why I wanted to find
Sure.
out. Thank you for that, ma'am, and welcome aboard. And if you don't mind, check the phones, because
Yes.
a lot of concerns.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to ask, we've had a few oversight hearings, roundtables with the Committee on Health, which I'm a member on, and I know a lot of the nurses have come in, and I know Speaker touched on this, but with the prenatal care and the struggles, obviously, with the reduction by 50% in the numbers of people that these programs have been able to see, and the primary reason that for this, from what we heard from the public health personnel, was just basically because all of the different public health offices are cast asunder. And they did say that when we were utilizing the central health clinic in conjunction with the other ones, that it was more convenient, and they were able to, obviously the numbers don't lie, they were able to see more people. The reason why I bring this up is because, we fly under the U.S. flag, but our maternal child health and our infant mortality rate, obviously, I think leaves much to be desired, and some would even argue that, when we look at infant mortality, we're not in a first world country. And I don't think I need to stress the importance of this. So how does this budget, and how do you and your tenure as a new director on board plan to improve these services? Because again, we're talking about babies, infants, and one of the more serious obligations that public health has as a department.
Thank you, Senator. A concern of mine as well. I've had several. I was brought into a meeting with regards to this issue. Definitely something I'm going to look into. I'm already having, if I'm not mistaken, either tomorrow after this budget hearing or sometime by the end of the week, there is beefing up of prevention with the doulas and doing some of that work to ensure prevention work is through doulas. But of course, it doesn't replace providers and doctors. And so with regards to space and using and having enough space for the nurses to do their jobs, also spoke to, just recently had one meeting with the nursing administrator, and something that we're going to look into about space. And so, it's something, give me some time. I'll get back to you on the plan, on how to, what is it going to take to ensure that we see more prenatal. I'm not sure. I have to get back to you whether the North or the South is actually not seeing enough prenatal folks. I'm not sure. I have to get back to you on that. But something of a great concern is, like I said, it was approached to me to start using doulas as part of the prevention, and hopefully will help in getting expectant mothers healthier. But again, I understand that it doesn't replace provider services. So give me some time and I'll get back to you on that.
Well, let me help you out a little bit, just based on the testimony that we heard from, again, the public health staff, was they felt like that central health clinic in Mangilao was a big part of how successful they were prior to its closure. And I got to say, I was a little disappointed when I read in the media that the Mangilao Health Clinic doesn't figure too prominently in your plans with public health. And I think it's a no-brainer when you take out that huge facility that was servicing so many people and you completely wipe it off the map. I mean, not necessarily literally, but figuratively. We haven't been able to replace the services that were made available there.
If I can just make a correction, I did not say that public health was, the central office was completely off my radar. What I said was that if we can have nursing, and actually it was nursing focused that I talked about the Mangilao Center. all I spoke about was that I thought that it was a smart idea for GCC to come in, nursing division, come in, repair the facility that's over, I'm not sure, 40 years old maybe. I mean, I'm older than 40, and so I know that it was there before me. And together coexist in the facilities. So just for correction, I never said that we weren't going to look into using the building.
I would just counter that. I don't know how to put this. Sounds pretty fancy, and I think the basic, simple need is that, you know, we need to improve immediately the services that are going out to the prenatal and the infants.
I completely understand, and we're both on the same page with that.
Appreciate that. Back to the Hessler building, because I wasn't quite sure what I heard. It's very confusing. Did someone say that public health is paying the Department of Administration $49,000 a month in rent? Or is it annually, or?
It's $49,000 a month in rent and utilities, sir.
Oh, utilities included?
Yes, sir.
Per month?
Per month.
So I can't, yeah, I think we're all struggling to, that's $600,000 a year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and how did that happen? Was it before your time, sir?
Yes, sir. It was
Well,
before my
somebody
time.
has to pay for their utilities, I guess, but I'll look into it.
Right, yeah, because I mean, I know Guam EPA also, if I'm not mistaken, I think, are they still at the Hessler building?
No.
No.
They were,
No.
right, yeah.
The only other
only public
non-public health is historic Hagåtña restoration. I
restoration.
apologize. Hagåtña restoration. is the
Hagåtña
other-
restoration.
Why don't we just stick with one senator
Thank you.
asking the question? All others, please just stand by. Get the answers.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's news to us, and I gotta wonder too, because the veterans were told that they were gonna be allowed to move into Hessler, and I don't know if they could afford to pay $600,000 a year. I also had a question about the senior centers, ma'am, Ms. Nicholas. It's not as serious as some of the others that were answered, but I go out to the senior centers, you know, I wish I could go out more, but one of the things that they've been consistently asking me about, and I don't know who funds this, if it's under public health, but replacement of the bingo screens.
Well, bingo screens could be funded through the senior center. So part of our supportive services includes a provision. It's called program income. It's called voluntary service contribution. So what I do know is we do have waivers, right, during program operations. So we are able to work with them if they want to look at using some of those funding to replace their screens, and some centers have done that.
Okay, so who is the onus on to initiate that conversation with?
That is something that can be done with the recreation leader and their president. They do have a senior center council members, and they can vote to do that. And that's within their authority to use that.
Okay, so they do that and then they contact your division?
Actually, they can do that, and if they identify that they want to do that, they will then go ahead and make those procurements through their funds that they have, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. And so you said that some centers have successfully ordered new bingo screens. How recent?
I don't have the exact dates, but we can get back to you on that.
Pretty recently?
I don't have those dates, so I will get back to you.
Okay, well, thank you. I just had to ask on behalf of the Manamco, because you know how they feel about their bingo.
Correct, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Senator, is there a specific center that's of?
There's a few, Estumbo, in Alahan. Yeah, practically everyone I've been to. I don't think I've been to one that had a new bingo screen yet, but so a lot of them, they have the old screens up and they're no longer functional, and so they play and they put a little camera on the ball puller and they kind of amplify it up on the screen. But in going around for Christmas and, you know, just visiting with our Manamco, that's something that I mean, honestly, it's one of the #1 things that they ask about. And so I did want to ask what the process was for that. I know it's not as important as a lot of the other questions, but I just wanted to. Thank you. And then for Ms. Lujan, again, I know that it had been asked of you previously, but just because, again, I've sat in so many hearings where I'm hearing about the crisis with, the impact of crystal methamphetamine on our families and the number of kids in the shelter, which, if I'm not mistaken, is still at a record high, right? And so when I see this decrease for children's wellness, it just doesn't add up to me, especially when we have other agencies. Like we had DOC in here, and when they come in here, we get on their case and they tell us, oh, they're asking donation for the aircon. We say, hey, put it in the budget. So, I mean, if we're telling them to put in something in the budget about ACs, then obviously facing a crisis like the one we are in, still, I just got to wonder. And, I asked, did you answer honestly, are you sure you don't want this $2 million on a status quo budget? Because I just don't see the justification for reduction when we're actually facing, the situation.
Yes, thank you.
How would you describe the situation with children's wellness and CPS and foster care? Would you say that we're in a crisis?
There is, as always stated, there is always crisis happening. And I think the 2 million reduction is us being realistic on our expenditures. Do we need it? Absolutely. Have we been successful this fiscal year to maximize our expenditures? We haven't, so it was a realistic request to insert the reduction. Are we going to be able, or are we able to utilize the funds? Absolutely, we would want to, but we have been faced with challenges with procurement, contracting, across the board, and so realistically, keeping it status quo, we're still living within our means, and I think we're gonna be able to continue the services, and we do have some opportunity to offset with federal dollars, but I'm not gonna complain if you
Sounds like a yes. Yeah, it sounds like a yes. And whatever the issues are, perceived or real with the Attorney General's office and the line agencies, I mean, I'm anticipating we'll be over this hump by next year, right? So you might not have these delays. And all I know is when you're looking at a crisis, for example, if this building's on fire, burning down, I'm not going to go say, hey, turn down the hose 2 notches to fight the same fire, right? We want to make sure that you have the tools, especially when we're talking about, these very sacred obligations of public health when it comes to prenatal care, maternal child health, foster care, CPS. I mean, these are serious responsibilities that you have, and we don't want to send you into this crisis, without all the tools that you need, and so.
Absolutely, I appreciate that, and we have been, DCW is very grateful for our allotment this fiscal year. We have been able to avail of some much overdue training abroad for our social workers, our investigators, our crisis workers, so we are very grateful for our allotment.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Barnett. Senator Brown, do you have any questions for the panel, ma'am?
I'm sure, Mr. Chair, you'd be shocked if I said no, right? I do want to get this clear on this rent issue. I mean, I have a lot of questions, but that in particular kind of mystifies me. How much rent do you actually pay overall now that you've moved out of the Mangilao facility? What is your annual rent overall? What rental payments are being made, and how many different facilities are you located in?
17 facilities all over the island, most being paid rent, and if you're asking for a total, Senator, if I could get back to you on that, because I don't have that total of rent paid thus far.
I understand you have your government facilities, your northern, your southern. I'm a little bothered by this because, we had the hearing just a couple months ago. It was brought to light when that question came up about what actual damage happened to the public health building in Mangilao. And that building was built in the early 70s. We were told there really was no fire, that it was electrical in nature. And I'm just kind of curious. We're going to come back to this subject because I don't understand. We are paying this kind of money, and then I got to go back and ask, why are we paying Department of Administration as well, and where's that money going? The other thing that came out of that hearing that's kind of bothersome, and you know, my colleagues here elaborated on it, is the fact that public health is providing less service to those that are in most need. And that's concerning because if these critical areas we are providing less service, we're not gravitating towards doing outreach and providing more service with our clients out there that are in the greatest need, that some have the least ability and mobility to be able to find public health and where you're operating to get assistance is bothersome. You know, the pandemic, yes, we understand, pandemic came, unfortunately, we had to go through that, it's over pretty much. But I'm bothered by the fact that less capacity is operating at public health because of the fact that you're scattered. And the fact that your employees came to us and essentially testified here at the legislature that they don't have the space they need to accommodate their clients because they're in an office with their boxes. So I don't understand. I mean, this administration promised publicly that, goodness, health care would be at the top of the list. And I'm sure we'd agree that public health is just as much as the hospital is. Public health is also a critical component. So this whole issue of the building, which continues to sit up there unoccupied, we have no status. I don't sense any urgency whatsoever to deal with addressing refurbishing the building and putting it back in place, or do we have to wait another 2 years for another administration? What is the agenda? Because I can't imagine any other government agency paying rent outside when they have a government facility that they own, and yet they're taking no steps that seem evident to us and the public to fix it.
Senator Brown, if I can comment. I hear I'm not sure if it was the Speaker or Senator Chris Malafunction who mentioned, I believe it was the insurance company that said there was no fire. I, as you know, was not there. I was not even my predecessor was the director at the time. I think it was 2 directors past. And I have to believe, if we look back at the time when questions were asked about the fire, that regulatory bodies such as fire and EPA made those calls. So as much as I appreciate the insurance company saying there was no fire, I have to believe the reason why back in 2019 when they vacated the office is because the regulatory agencies like fire and EPA deemed it unsafe. And so being 7 days in, I hear what you mean about, you mentioned there's no movement. I'm going to look into what the status is. I understand that an assessment was requested in the last oversight hearing, was it? Was it an oversight hearing?
Since 2023 October, the Public Health finally requested one. I tried to find out the status on January 8th. They said they were releasing the RFP on January 8th. Today I got another update that, Senator, if you don't mind, that says, this is from Director Vince Arreola, DPW, RFP documents are being prepared for release, hopefully within the next 30 days. Draft documents have cleared the AG's review. So I just got that while we were talking.
I can appreciate I can appreciate all that. But I've actually dealt with an actual fire. I had that at the port, I believe in 2015. We actually had sections of the building burned down to nothing. Black, charred, and as burned can be to the floor. And our immediate response was to, once the assessment was done, once the fire's out, is get a contractor in there, address, clear it out, rebuild it, and let's get back to business. So here we are almost 5 years later, knowing that we have decreased capacity, not because we're saying it, because your own employees in public health that provide these services to the community are coming here publicly and testifying they are not able, and the statistics that they provided showed, in one case they were servicing 13,000, I don't know if they were service calls or individuals, but they came back and said we're only servicing 3,000. Those numbers look alarming to me. And I'm just like, where's the fire in responding? Where's the sense of urgency in responding? Because, you know, if we're going to argue, we're not going to address reoccupying this building until we build a new building or build a medical complex or whatever the case may be, we're doing a tremendous this makes no sense to me. And you can't tell me right now what rental you're paying. I don't even care if the money's coming from federal grants. I mean, I'd rather see those monies go into programs and outreach than to a landlord. Because it makes no sense to see a facility sitting up there and just sitting up there not being addressed at all. It's inexcusable. 4 years later to do nothing, and we're only now moving. And I know government, if somebody high enough in office wants something done, it gets done. It's amazing, it gets done. And to see this happen is bothersome. So I don't know, I hope, you know, Madam Director, in your new capacity, you know, that you address that, because if we're playing politics here and the outcome is adversely affecting our community, it doesn't look good, it doesn't sound good for anyone's election or re-election campaign, especially if your own people are coming with this information and provided it publicly. But I would like you to submit to the committee what is the overall rent and where it's being paid and how many facilities are being paid. And again, this issue with the current building, our former legislature, I understand, you know, you got to pay the power and the water bill. That's not an issue. But why are you paying rent? And do you know why you're paying rent to Department of Administration? Because there was a big public announcement, much to my surprise, at the beginning of this administration, that they were acquiring this building that was going to be a government-owned property, even though I understand surrounding property that is used as parking lot is not owned by the building, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If I want to get a building that I'm going to use for public purposes, especially for members of the community to come in and get information service or whatever the case may be, I'd like to have some land around it. You know, that's the parking lot where people can park. Otherwise, they're just left to park in the street, and they have to park, in some cases, I'm sure, far away. So if the government of Guam owns this building, why are you guys paying rent to the Department of Administration? You should know. I mean, if you're paying the rent, why are you paying the rent? That doesn't make sense. This is the first time in my 30-plus years in government I'm hearing this.
Well, again, utilities, but you want more detail, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, I have no issue. Well, you know, power and water is a non-issue. Is it just power and water, or are you paying actual rent?
We'll definitely get back to you.
Does anybody know?
We're
Mr.
paying
Blas, do you know?
There is an agreement that we can also provide to you, Senator. There is a lease agreement that we can provide to you.
Why do you have to lease the building if it's a government building? Or am I wrong? It's not a government building?
DOE is our landlord. I mean, DOE, I'm sorry. DOA is our landlord. So we'll get back to you on those
Well, because
details.
I'm going to wonder, what's DOA doing with the money? Because I'm not aware of this in their budget, that they get, why is the government of Guam charging rent to itself? That's a big question. I'd like an answer to that, because again, there was such fanfare about this building being acquired, and like I said, why are we acquiring it? I wondered who owned the building and who was getting the deal, because, you know, if I'm going to acquire a building, I don't even own the surrounding property to park cars. You got to wonder. So you have me wondering. I hope you can give me answers to that. The other thing, too, with regards to your physicians that you have on staff, are they full-time physicians? Are they there 8 to 5? Where are they located? Are these available for your clients to come and meet with their physicians?
Public Health Division.
Okay.
Catherine, if you can answer that. She's asked about the physicians.
Your physicians that you have
the
on
physicians.
staff.
We do have physicians, Madam Senator, at community health centers.
Okay.
They're contracted under unclassified contract.
And are they there 8 to 5 or Monday to Friday? What is the...
They do have staggered scheduled, Madam Senator.
What do you mean by staggered?
Depending on their availability, because they also have private clinics for the physicians, but we do have some full-time physicians on board as well.
How many full-time physicians do you have?
I have to get back to you on that, Senator. I do have the list, but I wasn't able to bring it with me.
You don't know how many physicians you have full-time? I mean, do you have 100 or 3? I mean, I'm sorry.
No, it's less than just about 10 or 8. 8 or 10, yes.
So you have about 8 or 10 that are full-time?
Yes, Madam Senator.
And how many do you have that are part-time?
From what I know, currently we have about 2 or 3. But I can confirm you on the details on that. I have it on I just wasn't able to print it. But I do have the information.
And you're in charge of this division?
Yes, yes, I am. I do
And you
apologize.
can't tell me right now how many physicians you have part-time?
I do apologize, Madam Senator. I wasn't able to look at it fully, but I do have the list. I can give you the information. Just give me a couple of minutes.
I understand, but you're running this division and you can't tell me how many physicians you have that work for public health part-time? Just right off the top of your head.
I'll get back to you on that. Promise. Just a few minutes.
Are these part-time doctors, physicians, are they paid on an hourly basis? How do you do that? How do you determine their
they're paid
compensation?
hourly. They're paid on an hourly basis.
And on average, if you have just a few of these, how many hours on average a week do they provide service? The reason I'm asking is when we had the other hearing, we had a doctor that was here that provided prenatal care. And even she relayed that, you know, she's only able to provide barely a few days a month, and relayed that there's very much a need to have a full-time physician, that unless you've since acquired one that can provide prenatal care, because obviously for our community, you know, Senator Barnett had relayed, you know, we have very low, very, very sad-looking statistics with regards to, you know, the mortality of these children that don't even survive the process.
Do you have any other questions while we're still waiting for that answer, Senator Brown?
Your pharmacist, do you have, it seems you have listed here a part-time pharmacist. Do you have a full-time pharmacist, or do you only have a part-time pharmacist on staff?
We do have one full-time pharmacist at Community Health Center. She's a chief pharmacist, and another one at Central Pharmacy who oversees the TB medications.
Where is your central office at? Is it here, down here at Hessler, or where's your central office? I assume you're talking about your Northern Public Health Center?
Yes, at Northern
Okay.
Public Health Center.
Okay.
We are sharing part of the other bureaus' programs are sharing space at the Northern Community Health Center, like the
Okay.
TB program. Our Bureau of Family Health and Nursing Services are also sharing space at the Northern
Do they have,
Community Health Center.
do these pharmacists, are they they're able to hand out medication?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so this is for your clients, so they can go there. And so where do you have another assistance? Is it only Dedido, or do you have it for the Southern Health Clinic, or?
Currently, we don't have a pharmacy yet at the Southern Community Health Center because we need to assess the need. According to our chief pharmacies, I think previous year, there was 0 clients for the pharmacy at Southern Community Health Center. So we have to reassess for the needs because majority of the clients, even though they were seen at the Southern Community Health Center, prefer to fill their medications at the nearby local pharmacies such as Sagan-Amot.
Mm-hmm. So they're able to go there. That's like if you're down in Agate, but what if you're down in Talafofo? Are they aware that they can get their medication through public health?
I believe so, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you're just saying people down south prefer to go to their southern pharmacists and not get that through public health?
Yes, Your Honor. That information came from our chief pharmacies.
And your chief pharmacist is saying that pretty much everyone up north wants to go to the public health center?
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
I mean, your chief pharmacist is saying, though, pretty much everyone is up north prefers to go to the public health center to get their medication?
At the north, yes, majority.
With regards to your procurement, I keep hearing that, you know, the issue with procurement, because you guys move an awful lot of federal money. I mean, according to what you have here, you're saying you have, for federal grants and match, you have $163 million, or I guess $164 million that you receive. Where are you with regards to the procurement process that you have? And is there anybody else outside of your employees at Public Health that do procurement for public health?
No, to my understanding, there is no outside vendor. Are you saying that there's an outside vendor helping us?
No, I'm asking, is there anyone else who does procurement for public health?
No.
Through your grants or any of your other programs?
No.
How about with regards to your procurement staff that you have? How many people do you have in procurement to move? Because I mean, as we know, I mean, I'm sure any federal grant you get, there's timelines you have to meet and things, right? You have to either use it or lose it. So where are you guys with regards to that?
Well, the good thing is that every grant, there's people, administrative people, that can move the procurement of those grants along, as well as we have the Division of Administration and the Finance and Procurement Office that assists that process. Of course, we have to go through the procurement process and work with GSA to that extent, of course. There is no other entity or maybe a vendor that is helping us. We do it in-house, and we do it through the government and through GSA.
And are you having any problems with that? Are you moving in a timely fashion and getting your grants executed as you need to?
The good news is I can say, and I was reported because that was one of the very clear questions I asked, is we don't lose federal grants. If there was grants that in this current last fiscal year, I should say, FY23, that was in a time restriction, we were able to ask for a no-cost extension. So we never lost those monies, even though maybe procurement was the reason of expenditures being delayed and expending in a period of time within the fiscal year. But you know, if you want to add something.
And if I may add, Senator, we do have a grant, a public health infrastructure grant, which is allowing us to stand up a procurement office to so that all procurement for public health can be centralized.
Okay, so you've received a grant that will allow you to
stand up to look at our procurement processes and to stand up a procurement office within public health. So it's centralized instead of, because, you know, via the 6 different divisions.
Isn't that what you have at management to do?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that what you have management to do? I mean, there's nothing unique about, you know, some agencies spend a lot of time and money on things that others don't, that we kind of look at and raise our eyebrow because that's kind of standard. Why do you need all this just to figure out how to centralize your procurement? All of that can be done administratively.
This is just part of the grant itself, is specifically to...
No, I appreciate the grant, but why is there a need for it?
Yeah.
Half a day. This is one of those half-a-day moments.
Well, Senator, if I'm hearing correctly, the division has administrative roles, and you know, they have their responsibility, but you know, procurement is a very specific task, and to think that the division chiefs will just do that is, I think, you know, it's not fair to them either. I mean, they have other things that they need to oversee and make sure that's running, like looking at where the money is going and making sure that their staff under their bureaus are functioning and things of that nature. So I don't think that it's the responsibility of a division chief to do solely the procurement for their division. And so if we can get help, that's why, especially with federal grants, there's always an administrative help or an administrative person, a finance person that's maybe written in to help with that specific grants, expenditures and procurement. And so what this grant that Public Health received, and it's called the Infrastructure Grant, is to centralize all procurement in Central so that those folks, so that grants no longer need to write in a procurement or a finance person in each grant that is written, but it's centralized, and then they can use those dollars for other positions that the grant may need to execute the grant objectives. And so I think it's a good thing, and I think it's a good thing that we have a centralized procurement.
Yeah, I don't
Health.
have a problem with that. I'm a little dumbfounded as to why this is something you guys have to put together. I mean, there's many other government agencies that have grants. Do you have a procurement division? I mean, how many buyers do you have on staff? I mean, I'm a little mystified here. I don't know if it's mystified or mystified.
I can answer that question. Currently, we only have one official buyer that's hired, but we have 2 additional that were authorized by GSA as buyer.
Okay, wow, that's not a lot for, $237,000 budget, $237 million budget. You have one buyer?
Yes, Madam Senator.
Isn't that
now.
a management call in terms of prioritizing hiring in divisions? I mean, we can hire all these other positions.
Hi, this is Charlene Siniclis, Division of Senior Citizens. The amount that's being quoted, right, is $237,153,908. That's from the federal match, right? That's the amount you're sharing with us. That do we have a procurement office identified? And Kat is correct. There, I believe, is just one public health buyer. But I think, Kat, we need to clarify that that buyer is for procurements that are less than $25,000, so more like $24,999. Each division, I can say for my division, we do have staff that have attended these procurement classes and will be assigned to manage procurements within our division. So it's spread out. It's not like the bulk amount of 237. That I can share at least for my little office. So I just wanted to bring that up to clarify. In addition, each of us, right, there are only so many that have access with this new FMIS, so I only have 2 people within my little group of 12 warm bodies that are able to input requisitions, so thank you for bringing that out.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I've run some major operations in this government, so I guess I get to talk about this. I'm a little mystified by this as to why you almost have nothing there to do procurement. You have to get a grant to help you put together an operation in public health to do procurement. I mean, you have the administrative ability to address that. You have the administrative ability to add positions, modify duties in positions. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, there are many other government agencies that operate, but they have a division, even though they may not have delegated authority. And then why have you not petitioned? I assume if you don't have the ability to do your procurement, why have you not petitioned to delegate, or have you to get delegated authority so that you can do your own procurement and help facilitate, because you have a number of things on your table
Senator,
that you would like
that's
to
one of the priorities
procure.
I have. I mean, I recognize in walking in that we have a large agency and we need to get a lot of the procurement issues well along the process. And so I too am concerned that the expenditures are stuck in a procurement process for one reason or another, and I can't blame one area or another. I just give me some time, and I will look into it, and if necessary, we will move people around and have them not just, well, I'll just say it that. Give me some time to look in that procurement. I mean, this is my 7th day here, and one of the asks that I ask the divisions is give me all their procurement concerns. And so we're just gathering that today.
You know, I appreciate that, Director Aioli. You've been there for a short time, but again, you know, it's the direction of the administration in prioritizing these areas, and I think we can all agree that public health, you know, not every agency provides almost direct support to the community. I think we would agree public health is one of those entities that ultimately the outcome of all your divisions and missions is to provide direct support to the community. And when, you know, your inability in some areas to get your procurement done in a timely fashion, an organized fashion, because you're down to, from what you're telling me, one buyer, and you're getting a grant or have a grant to help facilitate creating, centralizing your procurement, which to me is an administrative issue that I'm dumbfounded doesn't exist in public health, because that is pretty standard in government agencies that also have a number of federal grants that they need to meet compliance requirements with and do so in a timely fashion. Especially, we're still in a situation, like I said, 4 years later, not a lot of initiative. There's no fire under public health, so to speak, to facilitate moving back to the Mangilao facility so that you can provide direct service to customers and clients that you have not been able to for the last 4 years. I mean, I'm sure as your work with behavioral health, you want to provide more capacity, not less capacity. And when we see and hear less capacity from your own employees, we're not sitting here making it up because we just want to, you know, complain about something. You know, I'm sitting here trying to figure this out. What the heck is the mission at the end of the day? That's just my comment. That's just my observation. I notice you have in your listing of staffing with regards to child compliance officers, I guess that must be the official title, a number of positions here that are currently under recruitment. Where are we with the viability of that? Do you actually have individuals that have applied? Have announcements been made? Have individuals come forth that are applying for the position? Are you going to the evaluation? Where are we with that?
Yes, the child care compliance officers are under the Division of Children's Wellness. Their primary role is to ensure compliance with child care centers island-wide. We have hired 3 classified child care compliance officers, two of which have already started with our Bureau of Child Care Services.
By the way, how many child care centers are there throughout the island that are, you know, fall under your review, your purview, so to speak?
Sure. So the Bureau of Child Care Services regulates and oversees 67 CCDF license and after-school programs, and 107 relative child care providers and family child care homes.
And how often are you required to do your inspections or visits to these locations?
Licensing standards require at least 1 inspection annually. However, our team conducts site visits quarterly.
Okay. And how about does foster care fall under you? That's a different division.
Under the Division of Children's Wellness, yes, that is under
How are
the
we
Bureau
with
of
regards
Social
to foster
Services.
care? Because I know we had previously raised concern about the number of actual visits that were happening between public health and some of these foster children. Because I had a foster parent who brought to my attention that short of, you know, heading into court, he didn't hear from his representative at public health to even check on the child to which this individual was a foster parent to. And then we also had the issue, was it just a little over a year ago, where we had one of these foster children who supposedly was abused by their supposed foster parent. And that's the concern that we have, is whether or not these children that are there are being regularly visited. We even discussed about the fact, is there a mechanism for these children? And of course, you have some younger ones that are not able to communicate what might be happening to them. And it's sad that that's even a reality in our community. But, you know, is there a mechanism of communication for these children that if they feel that something is wrong or they're not being properly cared for, that they are able to relay that to whoever their representative is from public health that's coming to check on them? Public health tells me, oh yes, we're checking these children, but I'm hearing otherwise, and that bothers me because these are the ones, again, that are the most vulnerable in our community. And if we're falling short and, you know, we hear, oh, we don't have enough staff, we don't have this, we don't have that, well, you know, what are you doing from the management standpoint to prioritize making sure these children are safe and that they're in, you know, good, clean environments? Because obviously, some of these cases, these children are coming from very distressing situations. And if we're going to say as a government that we're going to take these children in, then by all means, we need to ensure that they're safe and they're being well fed and they're not being harmed physically, sexually, or otherwise.
Absolutely, Senator. We share the same concerns. And my predecessor, who was the acting chief, did commit to monthly visits. And that is still the practice within the Bureau of Social Services Administration. It may not be the social worker directly who is visiting the children. It may not be at the home all the time, but contact is initiated by maybe a support staff, a community program aide, a homemaker, and or the social worker. So that is still the practice.
Well, I hope it has improved. I hope we're not just down to phone calls. And I understand, you know, there's a lot of pressure, there's limited resources. But if you're going to ask what's the most important thing you do,
I agree.
So I hope that issue is improving. I see it's a very small amount in the budget, but you have, is your entity the one that pays for these unclaimed bodies?
No.
There's a provision in your budget here that's a little over $1,000 for burial. Unclaimed, yes, it says unclaimed bodies.
That is through the Office of Vital Statistics, Senator. I'm
Burial
sorry.
unclaimed bodies. What is this for? Is this just to keep the figures or what? It says burial unclaimed bodies.
At a certain point in the year, GMH will report to us that they have unclaimed bodies in their facility, and so public health has that responsibility to see to their disposition.
So you address the burial of these bodies?
Yes.
And it's only you only have $1,000. I understand there's a little more than one or two bodies a year because we also have sometimes infants.
I'm sorry, ma'am, one more time.
You only have in your budget, it says here FY 2025 request $1,000.
I can find out how many bodies they've actually.
Because I kind of know somebody who assists with burials of these unclaimed bodies to make sure that they have respectful burials.
Yes.
And I only see $1,000, and I understand there's more than one or two a year.
Yeah, I'll confirm the numbers for you, sir.
It's unfortunate someone might not have a family to address their proper burial, but it would be good to find. I know it's not a big item in the budget, but it kind of caught my attention.
I'll get the information for you, ma'am.
Vital statistics, it says here in your submittal here to the legislature, that it's a goal to update vital statistics for the last 4 years, but it also indicates from what I'm reading that there has been no listing of vital statistics. It could be wrong. I don't know if I'm misinterpreting it. Since 1998, is that the case? Short-term goals. Office of Planning and Evaluation publish 4 years of vital statistics annual report, 1998 last published report. What report is this? Because that's, goodness, 26 years ago.
I'll confirm that for you, ma'am.
I don't have a page number.
Senator, can you repeat your question?
I'm inquiring it here. It says short-term goals. This is the Office of Planning and Evaluation. Short-term goals, I guess it lists things down. It says publish 4 years of vital statistic annual reports, and then it indicates it has 1998 last published report. What does that mean?
I'm assuming it was the last published report, but I will get back to you.
What vital statistics are we talking about? That's.
Are you aware, Kathy?
I'll do further research on that, Senator. I'm not aware of it.
Kind of curious. I mean, if we haven't published something in 26 years, why not? Is it of any importance? And what vital statistic are we talking about? Because I'm sure even for your grants, you need your statistics to justify what grants you're applying for and receiving, and it just caught my eye. I think it'd be helpful if you could relate to that what that is.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I could go on, but I know Senator Sabina's patiently waiting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator Brown. But it just made me laugh a little bit on the side here, asking about a report that was 26 years ago. But I'd like to first get the answer that you asked earlier about the physicians, I think. If you got the answers, please provide it.
Yes,
so we can move on that one.
I do apologize on
No
that.
problem. You got it now. The minutes have passed.
Yeah.
You're next.
So for the community health center physicians, we have a total of 8 part-time and 3 full-time physicians. And then we will also have 4 nurse practitioners to help out, and nurse midwife, and 1 full-time nurse midwife.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last portion with regards to the nurses? You have 4 nurses?
We have 4 nurse practitioners.
Okay, and what you relate after, is that how you're breaking down the 4, or is that in addition to the 4?
It's an additional
Okay,
certified
can you
nurse
repeat
midwife.
what their positions are again, the additional to the 4?
Certified nurse midwife.
Certified nurse midwife, and you have how many of those?
1, Senator.
So is that 4 plus 1?
Yes, Senator.
And do these numbers reflect an increase or decrease in terms of staffing capacity of your physicians and nurses in the last few years? Has it gone up, gone down? Is it steady?
It's steady from last year, Senator.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking is looking at the amounts allocated. It doesn't indicate to me with your physicians who is full-time or part-time. But some of these figures are in, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year. I'm assuming those with $300,000 figures, I'm assuming that they're full-time. That's why I'm asking, how do you compensate your part-time physicians?
Per hour, Senator, per
Okay.
hour. So
And then with regards to nurses, are these nurses plus 1, the 5, are they full-time staff at the Department of Public Health?
nurse practitioner, Senator. We have, for the nurse practitioners, that's 4.
Okay.
3 is full-time, 1 is part-time.
Okay, so you have how many your nurse practitioner, you're certified, so you have 4 nurses, are they full-time?
The nurse practitioners are 3 full-times, 1 part-time.
Okay, and the other position you relayed, the 5th one?
The certified nurse
Yes.
midwife is a full-time.
Full-time also, okay. Thank you, and now you know the answer, right? So the next time I ask, it'll come off the top of your head?
Yes, Senator.
I mean, it's an expectation. If you're the head of a division, this to me is basic, and I don't mean to preach, but I'm sorry. That would be an expectation. You would be able to tell me right off the top of your head, I've got 11 doctors. These are how much full-time, these are how... You're running a division. I think that's a pretty standard expectation. But again, thank you for the information. Thank you, Mr.
Senator Brown,
All right.
I also want to recognize, I think Ms. Catherine is very modest. She's very new into this position, so I appreciate what you're saying, and that's true. Our division heads need to know what's happening in their division.
If I was there a few
but
days,
I just also wanted
if I was there a few days,
to share that
would
she's
be,
new in this
that
position.
would be #1 information on my list. If you're going to come
All
to
right.
a hearing, I think it's just an expectation. I know you're new, but you're responding. This, to me, if it was a division manager, is a standard expectation. And these are not extraordinarily high numbers. I think we all agree that would be something you would be able to readily relay or have in reference that you could pull out of your folder and say, this is the information. Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, thank you, Senator Brown. I failed to recognize earlier Senator Paris also joined us, and she's next. Senator Paris, you have any questions, ma'am, for the panel?
This is Masi, Mr. Chair. You guys are such a hardworking bunch. I know you guys work over weekends. So yeah, thank you for all your hard work and service. I know Department of Public Health has been through some trying times, and it just seems like there's no break in sight. But in any case, there's some questions remaining. I know my colleagues asked many questions, and there's, one of my initiatives have been child literacy, right? And I've been in communication with, Pauline regarding the preschool development grant. And so I know the Division of Children's Wellness was recently created, and I know there's a lot of opportunities in regards to bridging a lot of the gaps. And, also I've been in meetings with the Guam Youth, what is it called? The Guam Early Learning Council. And so I know that they've been talking about transferring some of their responsibilities either completely to the Division of Children's Wellness. And I think part of the advantage of that is you can close those gaps, right? Because when you start working between agencies, you're dealing with different grants, have different eligibility requirements, and, more than likely things fall in between those gaps, right? And, that really what that means is that, our community is not fully provided the services that are needed. So maybe if you can explain, what is the plan? Is the Division of Children's Wellness, are they going to take over the responsibilities of the Guam Early Learning Council? And yeah, if you could explain a little bit more of that.
Thank you, Senator. And as a former educator, I also value literacy and education as well. There is still discussion that needs to happen on some of the programs that were identified. I believe you and I attended the last Guam Early Learning Council meeting together, and we heard the same thing. So there's definitely more discussion that needs to happen. I do recognize and agree that some of those programs moving to the Division of Children's Wellness under the Department of Public Health and Social Services will definitely bridge a lot of those early childhood gaps. We also were able to clarify, though, that the Guam Early Learning Council does fall under the purview of the Department of Public Health and Social Services. And so by default, under the Division of Children's Wellness, we were able to clarify that earlier this year.
Okay, and so your budget, you know, what are the plans? What can we see looking forward to this budget year? What are the outcomes that we can expect in regards to literacy?
So specific to literacy, we focus on all developmental domains. So this could be social, emotional, cognitive. So specific to literacy, we do have some plans and child care initiatives through the Bureau of Child Care Services that we are putting together to not only address literacy in children ages 0 to 5, but up to age 13 through the Child Care Development Fund program in collaboration with our preschool development grant, Birth to 5. And I'm sure, you know, through your discussions with one of our team members, Pauline, you know, she has shared some literacy plans as well. I do anticipate that some of her plans, when the preschool development grant does come to a close, will transition to the Bureau of Child Care Services.
And how much federal funding do you have? In how many years, I guess, if you can explain what's your resources?
Specifically to the Child Care Development Fund, which funds 100% of our operations through the Bureau of Child Care Services. We receive a pretty healthy federal fund allotment. Right now, we have about $67 million to maintain the program and focus on all things child care, all things child wellness, and all things early childhood. So that's in addition to the preschool development grant Birth to 5 program.
So this is $7 million to help with the Child Protective Services, is that correct?
This is it's specific to early childhood access to child care, and enhancing the early childhood workforce locally.
Okay, is this in addition to what's needed for the Child Protective Services?
Correct.
Okay, so $67 million?
$67 million right now is our current budget. However, it is a block grant, so this is something, it's formula-based that we receive annually, and it's obligation period for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, and meeting with also some of the staff, there was a need for interpreting services. So I think, you know, that's one of the issues with, you know, maternal child health, maternal health and child health, prenatal care, was the access to information. And so the interpretation was one of the things that was highlighted. Do you have, I mean, how do you carry out that service, the interpretation services?
We do not have any interpreters within our division, if that's what you're seeking.
Yeah, so yeah, that's really critical. What I heard, that's one of the things that needs to happen to get the prenatal, yes.
So
Director?
Senator, if I can add, if there's a need, because we've done this at Guam Behavioral Health for interpretive services, we can outsource those interpretive services and bring them in when the need arises. Okay. Very similar to interpretive services at Guam Behavioral Health or the court. There will be outsourced.
Yes, okay, great, because, yeah, I'm glad that you can look into that and make it happen, because I think that would go a long way to addressing the maternal fatality.
Right. I also want to add that on the child care side, we've already started translating a lot of our forms. Our website has multiple languages available to include local languages, common local languages, and then that is also, we're looking into doing that as well for the Bureau of Social Services, the rest of the division, and eventually the entire department.
Okay.
So yes, it is something we are considering and addressing.
Okay, that's
Thank you,
great.
Senator.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to collaborating with you further and
absolutely.
addressing these issues. In regards to STD surveillance, I know, we came through a pandemic, right? And maybe got a relief from the infectious disease part, but I think it's important that we don't let our guard down. So can you explain what the program is? How much funding do we have, local and federal?
Under the Division of Public Health, I'll have Ms. Catherine answer to that.
If she's, I could ask another question while she's looking for the answer, or unless you have the answer right now?
Give me a few seconds.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next question when you're ready. So another thing is the ARP funds. Does Department of Public Health have ARP funds? And how much is left? None? So you received funds, ARP funds?
We don't have any at this moment.
Okay, so, but you were allocated some?
I believe so, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing different answers, yes and no.
Yes.
Which particular funds are you
previously.
speaking about, Senator?
So, yeah, so you guys were allocated ARP funds, and,
Yes, we were, and those have been expended.
okay,
Yes.
all right.
Previously, yes.
Okay, thanks. And in regards to the federal funds, can you give a total amount that you guys are receiving in federal funds? Just
Are you asking currently receiving? Okay. Current receipt of federal funds.
and is it going to be the same the upcoming cycle?
Yeah, could we provide that to you at a later,
Sure.
I mean,
Okay,
after this meeting?
okay.
We do
that's
have a
fine.
spreadsheet where all the federal
It's broken
dollars
down.
that came down, because there's so many federal grants
Okay.
at public health.
Okay, I
So
appreciate it.
I don't, well, you'll see the spreadsheet with the total
Okay. And then
currently received.
okay, and the other thing I noticed, there was a line item that was basically, it was a computer to GSA, and I'm just wondering if there's any other, so I saw in the budget, there was a line item that was given to GSA. It was a computer, but I'm just wondering if there are other instances in the budget that basically Department of Public Health is subsidizing other agencies.
Not that I'm aware of. Are you, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so yeah, maybe I'll share with you that, and maybe if you can, if you know of any instances where Department of Public Health is subsidizing another agency, or is
Sure.
it's more of a shared cost? Is that what's happening?
Probably, but we'll take a look at it, Senator, and we'll go through it, and if there's more information, we'll give it to you.
And you're talking about equipment? Is that-
Equipment.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's being used in a different agency. Okay.
And if it's at GSA, it's probably to process ours, but we'll get back to you.
Okay. And then the other thing about, so have we maximized our, so Medicare, I believe we have a cap, right? Does Guam have a cap in regards to how much we can get from the federal government? For Medicare, Medicaid? Medicaid. And have we?
Come on down and join the group, okay? You'll be the last one to speak that haven't spoken yet.
There is a cap.
Please identify who you are first. I don't think you spoke. You spoke earlier?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I apologize then.
No problem, no problem. I believe the cap is 138 million.
38 million. And then, so does this budget go to the cap or no?
I believe it does,
It reaches the
yes.
cap? Okay.
The match is inclusive in the budget.
Okay. And have we ever reached the max? Do we reach the max pretty easily?
Close to, but not.
Okay.
But the goal is to maximize, of course, and that's dependent on enrollment, and so we're working hard with that.
Yes, and I feel
making
that
sure as many people are on the rolls as possible.
yeah, I feel that we can reach the max because I think there is definitely, like you said, enrollment is needed. There are many people in our community that haven't been enrolled that could be enrolled.
But just so there's no confusion, the COFA match is a separate pot of money. And it's not, there's no cap for that. Once we, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they've given us 35 million. Once we get to 35 million and we need, and if we need more, we can ask for more. But we haven't matched the cap for the COFA residents who are enrolling. But, you know, we want to enroll as many people. That's going to help all the providers, especially GMH, get their reimbursements.
Okay. The other thing I've seen is that some of the migrants, they are basically required to pay the full sum in order to be released from the hospital. Have you heard of that practice? And is I believe that's not.
I'd rather not speak for GMH. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
To be released, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I've heard that there are some patients that they have to pay in full before they're released. If you can.
Usually, they will ask the patient, you know, if you can't pay the full amount, you can enter into a payment arrangement, payment agreement. But, I mean.
And I wouldn't think that that's just for our the population from FSM. I mean, the federal states. I think that's just a policy across the board. We have local folks that probably are out of pocket and can't pay out everything, and so I think it's just practice that you go into a payment plan before you leave if you can't pay.
All right.
Your full.
Okay, thanks.
I can confirm that.
There's a payment plan. I don't think anybody is expected to pay everything out if they don't.
Okay. Yeah, let's hope that's not happening.
And again, that's probably a question that GMH can answer more firmly.
And it's regard to successional planning. So I believe in previous budget hearings, there was a discussion about employees that are about to retire. What is the situation now with the Department of Public Health?
7 days in, I'll get back to you on that. That's definitely a concern of mine. We need to grow another generation of public servants.
Okay. And I believe I'm waiting on the response from Kat. That was almost my final question, unless I can think of more.
I think the calculator's working now.
My apologies, Senator, because there are several grants received by the STD program. So the total grant amount federal is 613,683.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a lot. Is there a plan to, what is the plan for the STD surveillance here in Guam?
The program coordinator the program coordinator supervisor are looking into applying for additional grant money, Senator.
Okay, yeah, and I would like to know what the plan is too. We want to be ahead of the game in regards to infectious diseases.
Yes, I'll get back to you on those information, Senator.
Okay. Well, thank you so much to Department of Public Health and for being here and answering the questions and for all the hard work that you guys do. So, Zeus Masi. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, Madam Director.
No, I just wanted to reassure the senators that the questions and the information that you asked will be afforded to you shortly after.
All right. Well, just to advise the panel and my colleagues is that my staff is, once they finish the transmittal of the recording, they're going to list all the questions, and we're going to send you a copy of that list, and if you have some of the answers, just be prepared. Even though you gave the answer, we're gonna ask it again.
Well,
okay, so that we make sure that everything, and then I'll provide all my colleagues a copy of it.
we're taking notes. People at the office are taking notes
I
of
know.
those questions, so we'll start preparing the answers.
All right, I appreciate that. And because we're going to wrap this up. In reference to the Hessler building, yes, GovGuam does own the building, paid for with federal grant, and the rent is not a large number. I'm getting this from DOA, okay? You're paying basically for service recovery costs of power, trash, janitorial, water. It says ground rent, insurance. I think what you need to do, if you can, as I provide this information, write from the listing of everywhere you're renting and put down what you're paying for. Because you know, part of public health is in the building I'm renting. I know you got more floors than I got. I'm only on half of a floor. But you know, you're paying for common area fee. That's a pretty penny, I know that, for everywhere that's being rented out. Common area fee sometimes is even more than the rent itself. But whatever it may be, there's
The
no one
rental
else
information
here
will
to,
be provided.
You know, okay,
The breakdown
just give a breakdown of every building.
that we occupy.
One of the nice things is that we all get to see where you're renting. And then we get to take a look at what you're paying. Because this is something I've been promoting, is that we need to get out of rental business and get into your own building. And you know, if we look at the total cost you guys pay for, because I know for a fact it's not just general fund, but you're paying out of federal grants, paying for your rent. And if you own your own building, you can fix it yourself, maintain it. You do what the schools did, lease to own. But that being said, there's no one else here to present any testimony. I want to thank everyone for attending this hearing and for providing feedback and suggestion. I'll be waiting for that response to the questions. The Department of Public Health and Social Services budget hearing is now adjourned. The time now is 4:47. Jesus Masi for your participation, and please be safe. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, senators, for staying. Thank you.